I think that it's really cool that Amethyst's character arc through the chaotic world of Steven Universe was mainly about her coming to terms with just how much she hated herself.
You wanted me to be stronger. I'm doing it. I'm being what you want.
I'm sure that you could relate, right?
Whoa!
I'm kidding. And honestly, if you really do feel that way about yourself, no worries, we've all been there.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Amethyst easily became my favorite gem on the show really early on because of the memes.
Hey man, it's cool. I've seen your junk before.
You what?
And her inspiring will to forgive the other crystal gems for constantly making her feel like her entire existence was
just a big mistake!
No, Amethyst.
Be kind with your words, please.
You're not the mistake. You're just the byproduct of a big mistake.
After Rose Quartz's big secret got exposed during the season 5 episode titled A Single Pale Rose, and all of the other gems started to lose their minds and come undone over it.
Zephyr, she lied to us!
Our girl was fascinatingly the only member of the crystal gems who recognized right away that they probably should have been comforting the child who just learned that Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz were one in the same. Instead of, leaving him to wander around Beach City unsupervised so that he would be forced to process this insane revelation completely by himself.
And I'm not responsible for what Rose did. None of us are. Not you, not Pearl, and not Garnet.
Today we're diving into Steven Universe issue number 29, and I realized that this wasn't exactly the smoothest transition that I've ever done, but life is like that sometimes.
Or is it? No.
As per usual, this comic is level 2 canon, which is really just a fancy way of saying that everything that goes down inside of it did actually happen in the show's continuity, unless it ever gets contradicted within a future project or something. In other words, it's canon until we are given proof that it isn't.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
This book doesn't feature any big action set pieces and it's mainly just vibes, along with some of the most solid character development that Amethyst has ever gotten as she goes on a self-reflective emotional adventure to truly understand how her mind has always worked on a deeper level. And yeah, it's unironically one of the most real stories to come out of the series. The comic issue opens with the crystal gem struggling to take down a giant aquatic corrupted gem monster. I know I literally just said that this book didn't feature any big action set pieces, but this is the last one, I swear. When Garnet, after seeing an opening, orders our girl to hold the threat in place so that the rest of the team would be able to take it down easier. Amethyst, Pearl, and Steven, working together like a well-oiled machine, would manage to prove and bubble the corrupted gem without breaking that much of a sweat. But something about the way that this battle went down causes our girl to make the troubling decision to walk back to the beach house by herself in frustration. A few hours later, Steven, hoping to find out what was bothering Amethyst and also attempting to cheer her up by making one of her favorite foods, maybe?
Let's order pizza.
Pizza's a better idea. Yeah, let's do that.
Invites her inside for waffles, but he'd be met with a shock of his life when Amethyst would not only blatantly ignore Steven's attempts to comfort her, but she'd also decide to just straight up walk right past him and lock herself inside of her room. Steven, horrified by this development, goes to his father for advice on how he should try to cheer up Amethyst next, but interestingly enough, once Greg actually listens to Steven's side of the story, he'd try to let Steven know his unconventional thoughts on the matter, but wouldn't get the chance to. After seeing Greg's guitar, our boy would immediately come up with the idea of throwing an emergency concert for Amethyst, working quickly to draw a ton of flyers and list all of the most accomplished musical talent in town, and also invite everyone that he could find to make the event feel as fun as possible. Once Steven makes sure that the stage was set, he'd sneak into Amethyst's room and find a subtle way of handing her one of his promotional flyers for the event. Nailed it. Amethyst, probably not suspecting a thing, takes the bait. Steven manages to make the concert that he put together in an afternoon become one of the most memorable events in Beat City's recent memory.
Stop!
Hey, I said one of them. Going as far as getting a ton of tourists from out of town to join in on the hype, but despite Steven clearly giving this attempt to cheer Amethyst up his all, he wouldn't be able to get any closer to achieving his admirable goal. You know, it's like Amethyst tried to tell him earlier, there are some days when you just don't feel like yourself. Heck, I don't feel like myself right now. Video's over, I'm going to bed. I'm kidding, don't click off the video bro, you've invested way too much time to quit now. Despite Amethyst's clear lack of interest in the concert, Steven would decide to keep the show running in hopes that our girl would have a change of heart. Are you ready to rock? As a matter of fact, yes. That's really funny, but it doesn't exactly sound like a PD line to me.
I feel like there's just no point to it, you know what I mean?
Steven being unable to give Amethyst any space and attempting to try to make her smile one last time, invites her on stage to play the drums with the other gems for the final segment, but would be depressingly met with a cold shoulder from Amethyst and complete indifference from the other gems, like they do not care about what our girl is going through during this book.
You are welcome to keep it to yourself, because I don't care.
Steven, beyond confused as to why his attempts to bribe Amethyst to open up with music and food both failed, pleads with his father for help and would be met with one of the most real conversations that I've read in a very long time. I would seriously recommend that you pause the video to read some of his panels for yourself, but in short, Greg teaches Steven, yeah, I never thought that I'd ever be saying those words in that order either, that sometimes people just get really sad, and when that happens, there are times when the best thing that you can do for them as their friend or family is love them enough to allow them to feel those dark emotions on their own until they're ready to move on. Greg then advises Steven that as long as Amethyst doesn't stay sad for a really long time, that the only thing that he should be doing is making sure that he doesn't try to fix her anymore, and instead work on creating an environment where Amethyst is able to face her emotions head on without feeling like she was broken for not being able to always be happy. The following day, Steven, resonating deeply with his father's uncharacteristically incredible advice, buys an excessive amount of donuts, retrieves some of Greg's old cassette tapes from his garage, along with, what is that, a bunch of pea-soaked bed sheets, before knocking on Amethyst's door and offering our girl the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to spend some alone time in his freshly constructed sad nest, which, as its name suggests, was an area that Steven made where you'd have everything that you could ever wish for during your moment of sadness. Steven, fully prepared to allow Amethyst to face her demons alone within the sadness, gets asked to stay with her, and the duo would spend the rest of the day being sad, eating donuts and vibing together in a set of really beautiful panels. Amethyst lets Steven know that him allowing her to feel what she needed to be feeling for the day ironically made her feel much better. The duo would then have another one of the most real conversations that I've read in a very long time that I'd also recommend that you pause to be able to read and fully appreciate for yourself. But yeah, moral of the story, sometimes we just need to learn to respect people enough to let them be sad, and when we're sad, it might be best if we face those emotions head on instead of running away from them no matter how unpleasant they might seem.